Really great intro, Rich. I have to say, like you outdid yourself with that one, just because I feel like a lot of that applies to the team the last week or so.
Yep.
I know you said it was a one-time thing, but it's absolutely very fitting because a lot of the time watching the ninth inning, meltdowns, that's kind of the song that was in my head a lot, right? So,
yeah,
nice work.
Thank you. And I'm actually very happy I covered the screen, so I may have figured something out. Who knows?
You just covered me laughing, ugly
It's
laughing.
fine.
That's probably a good thing. Speaking of the team, moment of silence.
Well, okay, well here let's start off with the good stuff. Okay, let's get to the bad stuff. All right, good.
All right, we got that out of the way, right? So, just a quick moment to moment of silence to remember the 2024 Pittsburgh Pirates.
Pour one out for your homies.
Yeah, pour one out. Drink it on like a non-alcoholic bubbly if you're like me and don't drink anymore, right? But definitely do something to ease the stress and pain that seems to happen every single year now, right? March 2024 to August 2024, we were competitive, right? And here's the thing: I'm not saying that the year's lost per se, or I think there's some people that think they're still in it, but with the schedule they have, I'm not saying it's impossible, but we're getting to that point where, it's no longer are they making the playoffs. It's what can we look forward to next year, which is fine. We're used to that as fans.
I mean, yeah, like that. Oh, whoops.
Oh,
hello.
There's never enough FaceTime.
No.
So.
Yeah, no. It hurts a little bit, man. It does. Like, not once again. I shouldn't say once again. We kind of believed, man. Like we had something going. If you compare anyone that's listening, which is nobody yet, which thanks guys.
That's okay. We'll get there. We're recording.
It's fine.
We're fine.
They got a pregame before the game here. I get it.
I don't blame them.
Fair. We thinking about what we did last week compared to now, right?
Right.
A lot of critiques, but it was like, hey, well, look, man, the fight is there yet, and now a week later, and people can say that you're fair weather fans, but we're also not watching the highlights. We're watching the games,
right?
And that's a big difference because you're able to see. Oh God, is that a bridge collapse? No. Oh, it's us. Okay, cool.
Right.
It sucks, man. It really, really sucks. I mean, we have so much stuff to get to. Like we'll explain. I mean, obviously, why it's rough, but oh, by the way, welcome to Baseball with Babs. By the way, sorry, we just went right into the piss and vitriol that we have, but with makes sense.
I mean, but I feel like we can never tame. I mean, there's a lot of angry people out there right now, and I again, I would kind of go back to this a lot, but I don't blame them. Like, right. We have a lot of fan police out there that you can't be negative, you can't be positive, right? But it's just, I don't blame people for being negative at this point because, like you mentioned, like where we were last week compared to now, this happening repeatedly sucks, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. One of my favorite people that I interact with on Twitter from time to time, and we're going to call it Twitter. Her name is Charlotte. She's like, I try not to be emotional. I try not to, right? But I'm tired of seeing them make the same mistakes over and over again, right? And I think people need to realize, like, this isn't a fan base that's – I mean, there are some out there that just hate everything that happens, right? But a lot of people do want to see this team succeed and get there, and, that's a big reason why. And I'll be honest, man, like, personally, me, like, I think there is things to be hopeful about, right? And we'll get to that, but I can't blame people right now. I really can't. It was a great ride. They got us to training camp, as everyone says, but It would have been nice to see them make it a little bit further before an utter total collapse, right? Because at this point, like they're going to have to either, at bare minimum, they're going to have to win these next 2 games against the Dodgers, probably going straight to even have a shot, right? Like, that's what's happening. So, I mean, the Padres, we'll get to that too, but the Padres are just ridiculous. I think Jackson Merrill might steal Rookie of the Year at this point. I think it's very possible. But you get the point. Like the schedule would, at least in the near future, is not going to get easier. So,
let me ask you this, and then we'll get into the agenda here, because we don't really want to. What time's first pitch? 9:10.
9:10, yeah.
9:10. Okay, I already put my bets in, so it's fine. So we don't want to like take up too much time. But do you think that we, just speaking for us, we would feel this bad if they didn't make the moves that they made?
I think it would feel a little bit better.
Okay.
In my mind, and a couple of people have said this, and I agree with it. And again, looking back on things, right? I'm very, very happy that they tried. I'm very, very happy that they got players for next year, like, without selling the farm. I'm happy about those things, right?
Right.
Now seeing what had occurred, number one, high-end relievers probably more on the list than what we got, right? But again, the team's not going to know that.
Well, do we still have Moretto?
He's back next year. I think he's out the entire year. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. I still know we still had him locked up. Okay.
But to be truthful with you, I think that if we knew what we knew now, they would have sold. Like Chapman would have been, with how the market was with relievers, they would have sold Chapman for probably an overpay, right? So, in a way, yes, I feel like at this point in time, we would have been okay. We would have come to terms with what was happening, right?
Right.
We would have had some extra pieces. But again, at the end of the day, am I upset? Yeah, it kind of sucks, right? But I'm not. I have no problem with the moves they made. Personally, I think that I'm really excited about next year. If we are talking about next year, for me, the big caveat is next year is going to be, the pitching is great, but are they actually going to add the bats? So there's always a catch, right? And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So that's why people are the way they are with this team, and I don't blame them for it. But
unfortunately, it shouldn't really be a catch, but there always is.
Right.
But
right.
All right, let's get into it here. What are we leading off with?
Yeah, so I kind of want to go through a few of the games that we saw this past week. I know there's a lot of strong feelings about each of them.
Do we have to, sir?
I think there's certain points in each game that I think will be a good discussion. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I want to start with the first one, which is probably more fun than anything. Game 1 against the Padres. Pathetic Pirates performance, 6-0 loss, right? But, the big thing about that game was the just absolute debacle that was the rain delay and the events that ensued after it. So, as you know, game time was – well, first of all, and again, I'm not a professional, but I live up north of the city, and I was getting everything at the time that was coming towards Pittsburgh. And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, why in the hell are they starting this game knowing we're on about 20 minutes away, right? And it was a line of storms that covered like the entire area. This wasn't something that – right? And then you saw it. I'm not sure if you saw it, but there were Padre fans, conspiracy theories coming out that the Pirates purposely delayed it, started a game they knew was going to be delayed so that Cease would be removed and that, the game would be rigged and essentially like that, which I don't get. I mean, we put John Woodford in, for Christ's sakes, so it's not like –
oh, you mean creative player. Yeah.
Right. So, but just a debacle of a rain delay where, why did we start it in the first place? But then also – 8:15 start, and we get into –
nope. Hold on. Wife has to come on camera. Come here, wife. Okay, say hello to baseball people.
Hello, baseball people.
Oh, you're it.
I'm like Charlie Brown's mom.
You can't get a Let's Go Bucks?
She doesn't care about baseball. She
right. I don't blame her. If she watched the last week, I don't blame her. But, and then the I'm going to call it sewer gate. Is that what I want to call it? Or drain gate or something like that, where – 8:15 start, and then I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on that in general. But my takeaway was, can't believe they started that game beforehand. Number one, but the number two, and again, I get it. Like they can't tell. They don't look into those things. They don't make sure those drains are clear. Like,
well, I mean, fair. I mean, do you remember 10 year ago, the rain delay that never rained in Washington.
I feel like that's happened here.
Yeah.
Once or twice between now and
My point exactly of the whole, why would you start when you literally see, and I got a notification on the phone at about 2, 3 in the afternoon. So 4-hour kind of heads up, and it started doing things at 5, and then there was another front that came through. Yeah, why would you start?
I don't know. MLB. If you ask a Padre fan, it was pro-pirate propaganda.
Yeah, and see how that worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, and then what kills me, and this was my exact thought when it went down was, could you imagine sitting through that, sitting for 3 hours just to watch them get goat raced? You know, like, people will give people crap for leaving, but like, I that was my original thought was like, wow, I cannot believe they stuck through that. I mean, kudos to the team. The team, I believe, gave free pair of tickets out to anyone who attended.
Right.
That. So it's not like they left them out to dry, no pun intended. But just what a brutal game to attend. So anyone watching or will be watching who attended that game, I apologize for your loss, because that is just woof. We talk about getting the price of admission of the last week's games, not that time.
Yeah. I mean, it almost felt like an omen for the rest of the week, like before we knew, and that's like, losing that way felt better than the next 2 games.
Oh, well, that's a really great point. I'd rather lose. I've seen a few people say this. I'd rather lose 8-0.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with all of this is, like, they're not just losing these games. They are losing in the most gut-wrenching way possible.
Right.
Every time.
It's the most pirate way to lose.
Right. And you know what? This is a common thing for us. Like, I can't tell you how many times a year where I'm like, I got to go walk away and do something else, right? Baseball is just a game. But, like, again, like, kind of goes back to the fans. Like, imagine the entire game, big moment, and then in comes Iron City or short hair now. He buzzes his hair and just gets torched, and that's it, right? And it's just, oof. So.
Yeah. I mean, I messaged you saying, hey, look, there's only one way to really get people out of their funk and that's play them. Right. I mean, look at Rowdy. But God bless America, dude. I am so sorry. But with that being said, he ended up being hurt, like I told you. Now, I don't know if it's a real injury, but I told you many, many times his slider is loopy. It's not tight. There is something wrong. And come to find out, sprained wrist. Well, I've been single before, and no, like you can't do it's just not gonna work. And his performance showed. Wow. Like, his main thing is the slider, and if you can't throw your slider effectively, what are you doing? Throwing your straight fastball, and it's like, well, I'm just gonna sit on that because everything you're throwing that spins is about 3 feet outside. So yeah, I'm all set. Right.
So, well, hopefully that's what it was. It was legitimately an injury, and he comes back strong, right? But game 1, we saw how it happened. Ended up being a bullpen game.
Yep.
I know your feelings on bullpen games, and we can talk about that. Didn't go well. And that's probably the most we can say about it right now. But I got to ask, Rich, how do you feel about the bullpen game? There's some people that hate it. There's some people that think it's genius.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's a fun novelty when something hits the fan. But because of the team that we have and the absolute coin flip of what is going to happen, you do a bullpen game, that's going to screw you up for the next week if it goes sour. Because then, we do a bullpen game and you start getting lit up and you take the guys out. We don't want to hurt them, yada, yada. Okay, fine, great. Next game, Marco Gonzalez pitches and he does what he calls pitching. And then it's like, okay, he's out in the second. This didn't happen, but hypothetically, you leave in the second inning. Now, what are you doing? Oh, now we got to go back in the bullpen. So now, like the equity, the reverse equity of it, you have absolutely hamstrung yourself for the next week, and you just pray to God that Skeens or Keller can go in and give you 8 innings. And you're almost pushing that narrative,
Right.
like he's at about 200 pitches. Can you go again, kid? Like, it's the Rays started it. They had a fun little thing about it, and that's great. Now, for whatever reason, it's a thing now. No, it's not. We have 98 starting pitchers. What are we doing? I don't get it.
For me, I don't hate the idea of it if it's done properly. And what I mean by done properly is, you're playing the matchups. For me, let's take it a step further here. I want to make more so say the aftermath is taken care of properly. And what I mean by that is, look back, and again, I'm going to throw some strays at Charrington here because he deserves it in these 2 occasions, right? But there were multiple times where Minnesota, San Francisco, I believe, also comes to mind, where they flat out lost games in the end of series because they didn't have bullpen guys.
Right.
Right. So, like you mentioned, those scenarios happened. The pen was burned the first game. People got pulled early. Things of that nature, right? And then you saw what happened in Minnesota. Was it Heller that got left out to die? Was that Heller they left out against Minnesota?
Sounds about right.
I know against San Francisco it was Stratton they left out for way too long and he gave up runs, and then they put Holderman and But you get the point. Like, if you don't have someone who's willing to, on both those occasions, we didn't call an additional arm up for those games, right? Which then basically led directly to the loss, right? Like, I get it's a team game, everything matters, right? But they were not able to finish at the very, very end because the proper moves weren't made after it. So if you're going to do bullpen games, that's fine, but make sure you have a plan, right?
Which we don't do. We don't have plans.
Right. And that's something he's been criticized for a lot.
We hope for the best, and we're like, no, it'll be fine. No, that's not how that works, man. It's not just fine.
Right. It is not, especially when you lose games directly because of it. Right. And that's where I kind of feel bad for Shelton, because like people were pissed about Shelton that game and you should have put so-and-so in earlier. What was he supposed to do? I mean, was he going to go out there and throw? Like
but he's making the decision to do the bullpen game in the first place. So it's kind of like, you deserve, here's your flowers here.
I feel like there would be other people that would be involved in that decision too, though, to be fair.
I'm not
absolutely,
but I feel like you can't also not you, but he can't. I have no sympathy. He's lost all sympathy because of the bonehead things he does,
which we'll talk about in a second here.
Anything he does now is hypercritical, but something like that, you don't get a pass. Well, maybe he was. I don't care what you were thinking. I don't. Was it effective? No, then shut up.
I mean, same thing in day-to-day life. I mean, I make a poor decision in my job, it affects the rest of the team. Held accountable, right? So that's. But I agree with you. My point more so was, what's Shelton doing, right? And like I agree with you. No sympathy there, but like, I mean, he had to keep those guys. And what else was supposed to happen?
Right? Yeah, I mean,
and especially on the Sunday game where there wasn't someone called up additional who could have helped there, right? So, but I'm glad you brought up him and his. We talked about his decisions because we can talk about Game 2 of the Padres series, which was a lot. We'll start with the general gist of what happened, but. One of those heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching losses we were talking about, right? And believe it or not, the start of not even the first one of the week, right? Like this is like, you think, oh, this might happen one time or a couple times. No, this was just the beginning for this week, right? Which is just absolutely brutal. So as you know, Marco came in. Marco did not have it again.
Who would have thunk it?
Right? So, I don't want to do the whole "I told you so" thing, but I've been talking to friends for a while. I'm like, oh, Marco is solid. And I know people don't like the metrics games here a lot of the time. His metrics were atrocious. It was screaming, this guy is getting lucky, right? And it wasn't just not limiting hard contact, not missing bat, all of that. Like, it was screaming, eventually this is going to run out, right?
Right.
And you also had in the injury concerns and whatnot. So haven't been a big fan. And just to see the last couple starts where I think we're kind of seeing that now, like the regression that was supposed to happen with him.
Yeah, they hit like a truck though. Yeah.
Well, especially in a playoff race where if you lose a few games in a row, you're done, right? Which we saw, right?
Like
So
we got rid of Martin Perez and we got Martin Perez back somehow. I don't. It's like a boomerang. I thought he was Spanish. I don't know he was Australian. I don't know.
right. Well, have you? Well, I know that you might have mentioned. Have you noticed anything about him that you think might be? For me personally, I just think it's the stuff isn't there anymore, right? I think that injury kind of.
Well, when they were talking about preseason about him really ramping it up and throwing about 90, I was like, oh yeah, that's very threatening there, Tom Glavine. No, you can't live in this league and throw that. It just you're not a knuckleballer, dude. It just doesn't work. I like that maybe you're a crafty lefty, cool, but your stuff sucks and it's really, really, really hittable. And nothing about you screamed, I'm excited that you're here.
Right.
There's nothing. At least with Perez, his stuff was a bit stiff.
Right.
Like not much, but it seems like everything Marco throws is a curveball or a changeup. It's like, all right, you're not the left-handed, Trevor Hoffman here. Just stop it. You're very bad. You're very bad at this thing that you chose to do for a career.
Right.
And you're getting paid handsomely because society is dumb.
Right.
So
he's one of those guys who always, wasn't going to blow people away. It was location, soft contact, and that's the thing. None of that's happening whatsoever.
No.
I mean, he's not walking at guys, right? But that's all well and great. But everything's getting hit.
No, we have guys that do that in the bullpen for him.
Yeah,
we'll mention those guys.
Well, I'm glad you kind of brought up another lefty in Martin Perez to kind of segue real quick. Oof. We're celebrating when he got traded. We're like, oh my God, Ben, how did you do this? He goes to the Padres. Look what he's done.
Are you talking
Martin
about
Perez?
The pitching?
Yeah,
yeah, that's what happens. Great times.
Martin Perez with the Padres. Again, I'm convinced the Padres have devil magic going on right now, right?
Fair.
But first start, 6 innings, 1 run. Second start, I think it went 7 last night, 7 innings, 2 runs. He
did that a few times for us too. Then he just became Martin Perez again, and it's like, okay.
I'm just curious to see if maybe they figured something out with him, or they tried something with him. So I'm curious to see if that can.
Maybe he figured out that throwing a 2-seamer, right in the middle of the plate isn't really conducive of, good baseball acumen.
Right. Well,
I don't know. Very snarky today. I'm okay with it.
I feel like we're being pretty tame compared to a lot of people when it comes to this team right now.
Well, also,
I don't blame them, right?
and mentally unstable. So
we could probably move to the reason of game 2 why everyone's mad, right? So the first thing that strikes me is
Watergate, right? Yeah.
Well,
no, okay,
not Watergate. That was just feel bad for people that went to that game. I apologize again. But game 2, I mean, we talked about Gonzalez not being great. I mean, the nice thing, they seem to be hitting. That's the most frustrating part about all of this is they're hitting the ball. We saw for how long where we were losing games because we couldn't hit at all, but our pitching was great. It is completely 360'd. They're actually hitting the ball quite well right now. It makes you wonder if eventually the pitching does calm down, if they'll finish strong, right? But it's just that game. I mean, look at that game there. Like they showed fight. They stayed in the game the entire time. And then we get to, the bullpen. And the rest was history then. I mean, Bednar blows it again. He seems to be batting practice right now. I'm not sure what's going on with him.
Listen, that fat fuck needs to be let go.
Oh, no. You're at that point already, Rich?
Oh, look, I've never liked his he is – I remember I got critiqued by some, bozo on Twitter saying I was a casual fan because I pointed out all Bednar's ineptitudes. And it's like, your stuff isn't good. Your stuff doesn't fool people. Your fat ass walks people. You throw it right down the middle thinking you're going to fool someone with your 96-mile-per-hour fastball. It's 2024, dude. Everyone throws 96. Sorry. Chapman striking out people with a .05. Yeah, go hold his jog. I told you this. If he wasn't a Yinzer, he wouldn't be in this position, and I will die on that hill.
Right.
He is dog shit. Absolute dog shit, and he needs to I don't care if he's hurt. I don't care if his diabetes is acting up. I don't care. You're bad. You need to be the best arm in the bullpen. And you were like 4th.
Yeah. No, I can't really disagree with you right now. My big problem with him more than anything is, and a lot of people pointed this out last year, but especially in the second half last year, he started to kind of take a step back. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of hard contact. It kind of, I might have been on before this, but for me, the big one was the game against Philly where he almost blew it, right? And I think he got real lucky where we pulled a double play out of our asses at the very end, right? But it was becoming more and more common, hard contact, walks, things of that nature. And it was kind of all right because at the end of the season, at the time, he was still getting the job done most of the time. It was
Right.
hard.
At that point, it didn't matter. It was just games. Just get
Right.
through to be done.
He was getting the job done. The running stats at the end of the year looked well, right? But like the problem is like that's where I'm getting really concerned, and I agree with you to a degree because this isn't something that just started happening. This was something that started happening last year with the contact, and this year you come in. You know, we talked about it wasn't last week with Brett, right? Of the, you know, as he hurts, is that, you know, coming into spring training, that delayed start, is that causing this for him? You know, at this point, I'd like to think that
Dude, it's August. If you're still bitching about spring training, you need to go find something to do.
Right, exactly. And for me, that's not an excuse anymore. The concerning thing for me is the contact is woof.
Yeah.
You know, they're hammering the ball off of him. You add in the fastball command's non-existent right now, right? So he's walking people on top of it. You know, someone like him,
you have that's productive, you can't locate it. Like how?
Right. You can get away with the hard contact if you're striking people out. His strikeout numbers are down. Like he's almost less than 1 per inning now at this point. And
right, because his stuff isn't good. He doesn't have swing and miss stuff. He has very predictable stuff. Like I said, anything up is a fastball. Anything down below is a splitter. Just look in the middle whenever he, you know, sees the hot dog vendor in 116 and just is like, ooh, nibbles. Like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm so tired. I'm just tired of it, man. I'm so tired of so many piss poor players that they come in and they have a good half a season and everyone's like, oh, would you like to be this year's Jesus in the what's the thing called? God bless America.
Palooza, are you thinking about?
No. Like, do you want to be baby Jesus in the
Oh, you're actually talking religious.
The Christmas thing. Oh God. Oh Jesus.
I'm not even gonna go.
Literally.
Yes. I'm not gonna.
Mama, what's the Jesus thing at Christmas? The little where all the figures are.
It's a really good description. Really good.
Nativity. I was thinking novelty. Nativity. Yeah.
Nativity.
Thank you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
See, well, there you go. Part of the show now.
I was close. Novelty, nativity, whatever. But yeah, he's like, you have, you know, 4 strikeouts, and it's like you could be baby Jesus in the nativity scene downtown. That's what we do all the time. Brian Hayes, $80 million because you can catch a ball. Cool. And you hit like 4 line drives opposed to, you know, 493 ground balls. You know, so we do this. We blow our load for no. And I don't know if it's just we're so excited about it. Like, if anything, I'd love for them to do that with Skeens. That would be fun. But Skeens is like, if you think I'm gonna be here after my contract, no, there is beachfront property to sell you in Montana.
I think where he's gonna end up is where he's pitching tonight.
Yeah. Oh God.
But yeah, Bednar, I'm there with you, man. Like I tried. For me, my biggest issue is, like I mentioned, for a pitcher like him, you cannot rely on contact because what you're giving up is, you know, they're hammering it, right? So like he's either going to have to figure out how to, you know, get the control back, start missing bats again, or it's going to be really interesting to see what plays out here, right? Like, because right now there is no reason to believe this guy is going to.
I would give you an analogy. You know who's better than him right now from a control standpoint? Chapman.
Oh, you're not wrong.
Like, let that sink into your belly. Your belly feels that. Do you feel sick? I can pause this. You can go throw up if you have to.
I have a better question that might make you throw up, but I think it's a valid question at this point.
Okay.
With the struggles that Bednar is having.
Making closer? Absolutely.
I'm going to take it a step further. With the struggles that Bednar is having and Holderman's having, do you bring Chapman back? Do you give him another $10 million to bring him back next year?
No.
So
no. You know, I'll put Nicholas in there. He's no better or worse than him.
I do love Kyle Nicholas. We're not going to get into that right now because it'll be a 2-hour show, but I love Kyle Nicholas.
Right. Like, look, all he has to do is is, change how he pitches a little bit, how his delivery, and just more kind of turn his head more towards the batter to poke him with that huge goddamn nose. And then it's perfect. It's perfect. He's like sword fight with the bat.
Always commenting on the players' looks.
Listen,
he lives with Paul Stevens guy.
Somebody commented yesterday there on the last video, like, we're here for the disparaging remarks for the looks, and that's what I do. I'm a bad person.
We'll get into the Kyle Nicholas talk later. I'm telling you, like, I love the kid. I think he has closer written all over.
He has crazy stuff, but he's very much Ricky Vaughn from.
He's getting better. He's getting better, my friend.
I'm not mad at it. I'm okay with it.
Someone that you get that control under control, kind of double up there, right? But you get that under control, and because if you look at his metrics too, everything is great except for the walks. So
right, and that's
probably inflated. 6 walks in Chicago game, Skeen's debut. So I mean,
if Bednar can throw a $101 and miss the plate, I'll take that.
Right,
but he 95, 96.
Yeah,
your middle relief, maybe a fourth or fifth starter's velocity. Like, that's not
right.
Sorry, dude.
And we got to next part of that, Holderman, who once again gave up multiple runs. Man, I mean, we kind of already talked.
Vogelback back? Is that okay? Can we retrade and get Vogelback back?
I'd rather have like a coupon or something. I don't want him back. He didn't hit it all this year except for against the Pirates, which is just incredible.
Right.
I remember we faced him this year. He hit like 180 and double home run, like Barry Bonds, Vogelbach, and then went back to being irrelevant right after that.
Well, let's be honest. We have a few players like that on the team. So
Holderman.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier, so I won't touch on it too much.
Right.
Like you mentioned, I mean, injury makes a lot of sense now, especially like you said, the pitch movement, it wasn't looking great. I mean, the fastball, part of me like tries not to be too harsh on the guy because like a few of those pitches were good pitches on the corner. They used to have.
Oh yeah.
But I agree with you, especially on the off-speed stuff. It wasn't there. So that's a good call out.
You just sit on the heat, and then you're just you can literally just pick your spot, literally and figuratively, and it sucks because everyone gave him so much hell all year, and I'm like, before the All-Star game, he was sub 2 ERA. I don't know if I text you this or not, but I was going to say, how was he not on the All-Star team?
Right. Yeah, if he's a Dodger or a Philly, probably, but he's at least someone that I could realistically see, like, okay, injury was behind this, right? Especially if it's his wrists, right? If it is legitimate, and even then, like, he's someone that I could see, like, the stuff still, aside from, like what you mentioned, like the fastball still that, all that, like I could realistically see him coming back from injury or next year coming back and pitching well again. Right. That's the difference.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with him being here right now. It sucks, but I would absolutely be behind him being here next year.
Right.
No problem at all.
You see, like, you kind of see, like, I could see this bouncing back quickly, right? Maybe a rough
patch. If he wasn't hurt and if he had like the yips, then okay, we're gonna let you deal with that on your own time. There, do your James McDonald situation. That's fine. But knowing the injury it wasn't like, oh, I hurt my hip. No, it's like you literally hurt your wrist, your main pitch velocity, spin rate, all that stuff. Yes, like I don't know why it took them so long to get there.
Right. Like
if he was just withholding information, or if I don't understand that because he's looked bad for the last week or so. But
I'm not saying he did this, right? But he definitely seems like the kind of guy that would not even want to pitch.
Doesn't want to come out. Okay.
And that, and that's not, I don't have an issue with that. Like, I mean, would I like rather have seen him not pitch if he was injured, right? But like,
right. I get both sides of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, you and I think are in agreement here. Like with Bednar, like this isn't just like a month or so, right?
No,
this is
like the trend, man. This is the trend.
Right. With Holderman, like you mentioned, he was great up until recently.
Lockdown, dude. Lockdown.
So I want to see some more. I'm not even writing Bednar off, but like I'm very down right now.
I am. Yeah, I'm Viking funeral, dude.
And then you add in, they might have, if the reports are true that Baltimore offered them someone or a package for him, like that makes it sting even more.
Yeah.
But the team was going for it, so I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, what if, right? Because like Like, for all they know, they could have wrote off five wins after this. We could have been talking about how they should have been adding more. So I'm
Right.
not going to pick at them too much. I like what they did.
Oh yeah, I have no problem with what they, with what they did, sort of, kind of. We'll kind of keep getting into it.
We'll
What's
get into
next
that
on the
at the
agenda here, because we are going.
We're almost towards the end of the recaps, and
Yeah, if it wasn't for Skeens, I wouldn't give a shit. But it's Skeens,
right? What? And I'll get the big question of game 2.
Yeah,
and this will kind of, again, a lot of what we're going to talk about at the end we're covering now, so we're good on time. Game 2. I mean,
I love this host, by the way, boys. Just saying, like, this dude is absolutely stunning. Like,
I am
for
handsome.
what he can do, and he's a pretty goddamn guy.
Very handsome as well. Make sure you add that part.
Pretty handsome, whatever, dude.
But I do appreciate that, Rich. Game 2 for me, and I'll be honest, man. Like, and I know you were a fan. I know
Not anymore.
I think you're towards the end. The big question of game 2: where the hell was Joey Bart,
dude?
I mean, like, and I'm going to preface all of this conversation with Shelton came after the game and pretty much said he was available, and we just like Rendell's at bats recently, and blah blah blah. His typical garbage. Something about, Bart's 0 for 3 against this random guy in his career. I don't give a shit. Okay, like, I'm sorry, but I don't care if someone's 0 for 25. The guy's been coming through in the clutch all year, and you leave Grandal in at the plate, right? And there's some people that have different thoughts on this. I'm tired of seeing it happen. But number one,
please point me in the direction of those people, because I need to have a conversation and ask them.
It's kind of the old school baseball, but number one, you don't have him bat. And then you saw what happened the next game. In the game after that, I mean, the guy's hitting home runs left and right. He's driving runs in left and right. But you don't bring Bart in for the ridiculous reason that Shelton gave, which even I think his defenders were like, what the hell was that? Like, what kind of reason was that? And then you kind of add in, for me, it kills me is, can the dude hold on to the ball? Like, I don't mean to be this way. I know I'm not a baseball player. I know I don't play catcher. I'm not a Major League Baseball player. But this is a consistent thing where our dude drops a ball, whether it's a pop-up.
I know. Once again, this is a message that we had together.
Or a play at the plate, and it leads to a run. And in this occasion, like,
you got need in the head, dude. Like, I feel a little like benefit of the doubt. But as you said, with Bednar, though, this is a trend. So I completely get it.
Well, I mean, and like, you got catchers you're getting steamrolled 5 years ago. They're holding on to. They were getting in the face, and they were holding on to the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a real good point, dude.
But I get that side to it as well, and I think that's what a lot of people were saying. But like, it's just getting to that point where, like, and then I texted you. I'm like, watch them lose this effing game by 1 run, and they sure as hell.
Yeah.
And that's what kills me is like that. Like, you kind of bring up trends. Like, what do we do? I mean, he's playing tonight. He's once again starting a catcher, and they have Bart at DH. I love Bart being a DH.
I don't get it, dude. Where I don't. There's no one else that we can play. Like, there's no one else on the bench. Nobody. Did we sell them all for like circus peanuts? Like, what happened here?
I don't know. I think Kutch is nursing like a knee injury or something from what I saw. But even then, like, there's no one else.
But if he's hurt, sit him down.
I mean,
it's not like he's torching the ball here. So
for me, it's like Grandal. What did Grandal? Well, I'm skipping ahead, but we're not going to touch on game 1 of the Dodgers because it was terrible. But Grandal, you go 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. Like, you get the point. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you're not only are you like, I can probably stomach you playing the guy, right? I can probably stomach you playing him, but keeping him in key situations like that, when you have a Joey Bart sitting on the bench who's come through time and time again. And again, that game was a mix, right? And a lot of people, I'm going to break the forbidden rule here. It can be Shelton and the player's fault.
Yeah.
Right? And decision-making, terrible. That, once again, what are you doing there? And then the explanation afterwards. For me, my biggest problem is the BS after the game. Like, just say, hey, man, I messed up. Like, it's not that hard. And then...
Yeah, but but if that was the case, how many times would he have had to say that?
That's a very, very good point, my friend.
Like, just it's the weird, like, minor league decisions you're making.
Right.
Like, I'm going on a hunch. A hunch of what, dude? Mushrooms? Like, what is happening?
He's throwing no one out either. I mean, I don't see, aside from the pitch framing, he's not throwing guys out. Bart is. He's not hitting. Bart is. The guy, I mean, he could hit a grounder to Cleveland, and he'd probably still get thrown out at first base.
Yep.
So again, like I don't mean, I try not to hate on people, but like it's just
Oh
getting
no.
there.
Fuck that guy in the face.
Uh,
He is terrible. His attitude is garbage. His athleticism is similar to a paraplegic. His baseball kind of acumen, skill, whatever, is just so so lacking. It's like whose dick pics does he have right now? Like that's what I need to know. Like, was like Shelton, was he like Joe Pa 2.0? Like, does he have dirt on him? Like, I don't understand this because there's no reason why this guy is getting like a Joey Bart schedule when he should be getting a Jason DeLay schedule.
Right.
I don't get it.
Where is Jason DeLay? I'd rather have Jason DeLay up here right now.
Is he still hurt or is he actually playing now?
I'm pretty sure he's down there playing.
Okay, so logic and stuff. Cool. This team is stupid. I hate it.
Like I don't understand why he didn't get the Hedges treatment. Once they, they ended up trading Hedges somehow, right? But like,
at least Hedges had value somewhere.
Right.
I don't know what it was.
Right. Something. At least if the game was on the line, we knew Hedges was going to play half decent defense and not drop a ball. Like, oh God, to drop it. I know, like, I shouldn't focus on that so much, but it kills me, man. Like, I'm tired of it. But
no, literally, it's like a fireman that is afraid of fire. Huh? You can't do that. You're a catcher. You're literally there to catch the ball.
Right.
And you're like, no, we don't do that here.
Oh no, not that we don't do that here. So
I'm so frustrated, dude. But I love this. Like, it feels good. It's like cathartic.
For me, I just don't get it. Like, the plan all along with Hedges was you don't trade him. He's gone after the deadline. What the hell is this guy doing here still?
Right.
And I've seen some people say, like, oh, we want to show free agents. We'll play them the entire year. No, like, you're showing free agents you're a loser. That's what you're showing them.
That's exactly. You're settling for piss poor performance. So that's not the message you want to send to a free agent. It's like, well, understand that we're not about to win. So we're going to play a guy out of spite because we signed him. It's like you signed everybody else too, but you sit them. So your logic falls apart.
It's always about appealing to the 1-year guys and not want to know when anyone else on a multi-year deal here in free agency, stuff like this. I mean, like,
right. It's embarrassing. And like, just knowing that you were a switch hitting catcher. Not many of those, man. Like, that is a great thing to have. I feel like I don't think your skill is gone. I just don't think you care. Like you said, you told me that there was a interview where you said, "I'm just here to collect a paycheck."
Pretty much end of my career.
And it's like, did you read Gaze's diary? Like, what was that?
Yeah, he Gerard Dysoned it pretty much. Is what he did.
Gosh.
It wasn't
like, well, if we're doing name drops, can they just be like Derek? What's his name? Not Derek Hill.
Bell.
Yeah. Derek Bell. Just be Derek Bell. Go find a boat.
We couldn't get that lucky, my friend. We could not get that lucky. But yeah, so game 2, a bunch of crap again. Another heartbreaker. I do want to kind of talk about game 3 because, again, it'll cover a lot of the stuff we're going to cover at the end because it kind of segues into it. Number 1, again, like, just number 1, they're down 4-0. They came all the way back. I was at work, and thank God I was because my blood pressure was spared, right? But, I'm looking down my 4-0, whatever, and then I'm seeing text in my group messages, and then 4-3, and then I look down again, Bart 5-4. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, blah, 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 blah. And then I saw Mr. Bednar coming again. And you better believe, I think I texted you. I was like, he's blowing it.
Yep.
And lo and behold, walks, XYZ. I mean, we've kind of talked about Bednar at this point. I'm not going to go. I'm just not going to get into Bednar anymore. I'm tired of talking about him. And, maybe, let's hope he turns it around. Let's, XYZ, Iron City, Pierogies, Yenzer Palooza.
Yeah.
Key to the city, whatever.
Mars PA. Let's go.
I mean, in this game, again, Bart continues to be a bright spot. The one thing I want to focus on in this game, and it's something that really irritated me, was it was another catapult for the Cruz hate. Double play ball. He throws it away. Oh, Cruz this, Cruz that. The typical, he's not a major league player. He doesn't know how to. There's a weird subset of fans that want this guy to fail.
It's super weird, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, and we'll get into the actual play itself, but like, I don't mean to make accusations like that, but that's where I'm at because like clearly they're not looking at stats. I mean, look at him. Look at the last 30 games. His last 30 games, his OPS is near 1,000.
Yeah.
He is hitting like a superstar, believe it or not. People don't want to admit that.
It's super
right?
weird.
Yeah, has he made? We've talked about this on past shows. Like, has he made boneheaded plays? Sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how
That's some growing to do. Sure.
Nuts.
But you and I have talked about this. This is his actual first full season. The guy brutally broke his leg in half last year. Like, these aren't excuses. These are complete facts. That like this is his first full major league season. He's gonna make mistakes, especially at shortstop. I'm pretty damn happy the guy's killing the ball right now.
Yeah.
Worst comes to worst, let's say the defensive struggles continue. You DH him, you put him in the outfield, you move him around, but at least you know that.
In a 50-foot home run, a vertical, a 50-foot home run for what, almost about 4 bills last night?
Oh.
How hard do you have to hit the ball to get it only 50 feet off the ground to put it over the fence?
Right.
God, I don't know. That's not how physics works, dude.
Right.
Like, you have a ridiculous talent. And I'll tell you this really quick. I know we're not talking about Bednar, but you know what? If we had a half decent closer that wouldn't put everyone's grandma and grandfather on base, you wouldn't have to worry about doing these close DPs or these, oh my God, that's not what a closer does.
100%.
Sorry.
That's a brilliant point, and that's what I was going to bring up. Is the play itself.
Never have happened.
Our man Gary Morgan said this, and I 100% agree. That's a play that if he doesn't throw, it's going to be, why didn't he throw? He has the arm lazy.
You know what? I saw that post. Yep.
I'm adding that part. But that's kind of what, if he doesn't throw, it's, he doesn't know baseball. What's he doing? How can you not make that throw? Right? He does make the throw. You're going to have to gun it, and the error happens. And it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario.
Right?
And like you mentioned, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, the throw was awful. I will say that. I will admit that 100%.
Yeah.
The throw, again, but it comes down to you have a closer who's putting guys on left and right.
Right.
If the walks don't happen.
And that puts the pressure on the guys. That puts the pressure on the defense. They're trying to be perfect. And obviously far from a perfect play. But I don't know another shortstop that's going to be able to that's going to even make that play close. Right. I don't know. So
I'm not going to sit here and act like the guy's perfect. I'm not going to say that
not at all.
Errors aren't terrible. I mean, I texted you when he made the Houston thing, and I was like, I'd sit his ass the rest of the game.
Right.
Right. He made that play about himself. He went out there. That's an immature, selfish mistake. I would have sat him the rest of that game. That game.
And I had my retort to that.
Right. But we cannot. This team has a lot of problems. He is not one of them.
No, not at all.
This team is going to go anywhere next year. It's going to be him being a big driving force of that.
It's going through him, absolutely. Him and Skeens and Jones.
People need to chill out. That's what it is. I mean, I get there's frustration.
Look, do you just want to call a spade here? Well, that's probably in poor taste. Is it because he is Dominican, or how some people view him as black? Because we've had that conversation, we've heard that conversation, and you wonder if this was like Jordy Mercer, if people would be saying anything. And I don't think it'd be the case. I think there is some inherent weird hatred against him, because I don't know how you can hate a physical specimen like this other than picking apart his race. That's my hot take, man.
I'm going to partially agree with you. So I think Pittsburgh fan base in general, and I'm not telling any lies here, are extremely, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
Very reactionary. So I think a lot of it's is just people, frustration, they're collapsing,
No, you're right, actually.
People hit a 500-foot home run in a week. So for me though, I see where you're coming from, especially when you see things like lazy.
Right.
Quit acting stupid, cocky, thuggy. I've seen thug thrown around there.
Yeah, that's when white people are,
and that's where I get where you're coming from. 100%.
Like what they're really trying to say. They're trying to hide their words. Love it. Good job, white people.
Just blow a whistle at that point, right? So, do I think a lot of the fan base is?
All right.
Do I think? I think a large point of the fan base is more so just the reactionary. Right.
That's a great point. I mean, I told you they ride him. They're riding him like they haven't seen him in 3 years. And he came
Right.
back from the Army when he hits his 134 mile per hour, double. But God forbid this dude, farts in the, the wind is blowing east to west, and it's all of a sudden he's a lazy, come on, man.
I do get where you're coming from because with how the world is today.
Yeah.
Can't ignore that stuff, and I've seen it
Right.
myself, so I see where you're coming from, and it's
Yeah.
definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, I'm not saying this to I'm not saying this to be, I sit in great seat. I've sat behind the dugout multiple times this year, and what my takeaway every time is he cares. He makes an error, he's pissed. You can see it. I was at the Giants game where he dropped that pop fly, and then proceeded to hit a ball over 110 4 straight times.
I think people, because he doesn't wear his emotion on his face. I mean, his eye movements, his kind of like his mouth doesn't really move, but you can tell by his, and it sounds weird, but his eye, not eyelash, but his eyebrow kind of movement and where it's placed. You can see what he feels based on where his eyebrows are. And that sounds insanely weird. But now, and I'm not joking, anyone that's listening or anyone that listens in the future, next time you see Cruz in, the dugout or on the field, just take a look at where his eyebrow placement is, because it will be indicative of what he is doing, on how he is feeling. So
We've got an eyebrow watch tonight, my friend.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's weird. Like, that might be a hashtag here, but
eyebrow watch.
Yeah. He doesn't have the facial expression. He's not Kutch. He doesn't have that thing about him.
Right.
But if you don't think this dude cares, then you need to rewatch baseball and figure out how to live your life, because he's not Hayes.
Yeah. Oh, catching strays, Hayes. Which, by the way, we'll talk about that next show, but Charlie Hayes posted something quite interesting that I definitely want to talk about. We're short on time today, so I want to kind of go into game one.
Or Deuce Canoe, apparently. Yep.
Game one with the Dodgers. I mean, more of the same. I mean,
what did you expect?
Crumble. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and complain about Mitch. Mitch has been great. He's going to have a bad start from time to
His
time.
fastball was way out. It was all over the place. His control was not there.
Right.
His sweeper, though, God bless America. That thing is filthy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good God. But his fastball command he wasn't really, it was actually a good strike zone last night, which was rare, but his fastball command was as if the, strike zone wasn't tight. So it's like, well, of course.
Continued theme. Suddenly can't pitch at all, but they can hit.
Yep.
Which is just, I mean, Flaherty had a great game, right? But I mean, the things my takeaway is, and again, I think, like you said, I think Mitch is going to be totally fine.
Yeah.
Great. The strike zone was great. What a coincidence. It's in Los Angeles, and it's great. But for me, once again, the takeaways were Bart, right spot. Cruz, 3 for 5 again. I mean, we're all bitching about Cruz, and the guy's going 3 for 5.
Well, it's because he didn't go 4 for 5, obviously.
But there's not much to talk about with this game. I mean, They got boat raced pretty early. They fought a little bit, put some runs on the board. I mean, and again, I'm not going to touch on game one too much, but I am going to segue into, I guess my question for you is, and I want to talk about this a good bit, is.
Well, I saw you got all comfortable. Oh man, it's about to get real. Okay.
There's a lot of people that are rebuilt again, fire everyone. They're done. What do you think? Do you think that should we be positive? Do you think they're done? What is your overall outlook on the team in their near future?
Shelton needs to go away. He's not built for a young competitive-esque team. He's built for like Dairy Queen, right? That's about it. He makes really bad decisions. He needs to go. If he stays, I'm concerned. The rest of the coaching staff, yeah, I'm fine with it. Don Kelly, fine. I don't know what the hell you really do, but we don't really hear your name enough to cause a problem, so I'm fine with You haven't heard anything about, Oscar for a while, which is great. That's probably because we're, the only time we ever get someone past third is because we hit the ball over the fence. Other than that, it's not really happening. Shelton is the problem. He needs to go. I don't know who they replace him with, but we need a vote of confidence. I don't care. You could get a squeegee in there. I just want something new to look at.
Right. I don't disagree with you on that. Not
You
to
do?
change subjects real quick. Our man Ken Baldineri, which by the way, I know Ken. I've known him for a very long time. Great guy. So thank you for bringing this point out, Ken. Ken put in the chat, for the people who want Cruz out of short, who replaces him? Not a single minor leaguer remotely ready.
Fair.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's why would you do that? People are like, put him at first. For what? Let's waste his 95-mile-per-hour throwing arm at first so he can throw to where? Oh, nowhere? Cool. That's great. No. He's a 6'13" shortstop. Shut up.
Why?
Let him be a 6'13" shortstop and make some errors sometimes, but beat the shit out of the ball.
Right.
Let him do that. I'm okay with that.
First full season. Again, I got to keep bringing this up. First full season.
It's a great point, dude.
I'm not worried about shortstop yet, right? I mean, Ellie, and I didn't say Deli this time. Ellie De La Cruz, 22 errors as well. No one's saying a word because the guy's murdering the ball.
Right.
Right. And again, players like Ellie.
How many errors does he have this year?
He has 22, just like O'Neal does.
That's weird. That's silly. No one's saying anything about him.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, shortstop's not an easy position. Right. And this is a first-year guy. Again, I know he's had year, but this is his first full year. Right.
And look at the plays he's made. The diving plays, the absolute gunned plays that 95% of the shortstops in the league are not gonna make.
Right.
But you don't say anything about it because that's what he should be doing. Is that how that works? Oh, okay. Cool.
Right. And Ken's point, do you want to see Alika Williams play 100 games at short?
I didn't want to see his weird-looking self on the TV, let alone in the field. Good God.
It's a great point. I mean, who's going to replace him? I mean, people
leak my balls. How about that?
You Alika, I mean, Connor Griffin, I'm convinced he's going to the outfield, and even then he's 4 or 5 years away.
Right.
I mean, maybe Chang, but even then, like, I'd much rather have Cruz there at a premium position with that bat. I mean, Ken brings up a really great point. I mean, where the hell do you put him? I mean, you move Cruz, but who the hell do you put there in place of him?
It's complaint city. That's all it is. It's not solution-based thinking. Well, he's not doing well there. How? Please tell me how. Okay, what's your solution? Oh, I don't know. Then shut up. If you don't have an answer, shut up.
I agree.
I'm gonna fight somebody tonight.
Don't get banned on Twitter.
No, God.
Don't pull up Liz. Come on. But no, back to the I agree with the future of the team. Vic, I can't stand Shelton. There it is. I can't stand Shelton. He does need to go, but maybe has 3 more years left in his contract, so I doubt he's going anywhere anytime soon. That sucks. He's made to manage a team like the Dodgers. Vic, that's a good point too. I mean, the one thing I will reassure you on, because I had the same mentality back when, and again, I love Clint Hurdle now. I wish I had him back at this
dude. Oh my God.
They had just extended Clint Hurdle when they let him go as well. So I do agree with Vic though. I think that's a good point. Is I wonder how much the contract is going to play a point to this. Like, they did let Hurdle go, shortly after, but it's different leadership now, man. I mean, Travis Williams, it's Charrington, so I'm curious to see. Vic brings up a great point. I'm curious to see how that plays a part too, because in the past, have they acted?
We know how it's going to work. Don't even
pretend.
We know how it's going to work. He's going to be here. He's going to ride till the wheels fall off, and then
I'm intrigued.
I'm hopeful, dude, but I've been hurt so many times by this team and seeing the shenanigans and knowing that I wouldn't say we're close per se, but when's the last time we were talking about pseudo competitive baseball in August?
Right. Look, Ken just put in the chat as well, and it's kind of where I'm going with this, and kind of what I went with in our last show is again, I mean, if they continue to play like this and he continues to make decisions like this and they continue to collapse, I could see it. Because again, I see Vic's point of the contract, and we all know how cheap they can be, right?
Yeah.
And, we know how Ben does not like to admit being wrong and things like that. So I see
Right.
Vic's point, but I also see Ken's, and I'm kind of leaning that way now. Is we talked about the team being in uncharted waters last show, and this isn't the same.
Okay.
They wouldn't
Okay.
actually out of this deadline, and next year, and again, this is a perfect segue. Sorry, guys, because the game's about to start soon, but perfect segue into the future, right? And the future is your rotation is going to be absolutely disgusting next year. I mean, Chandler is at AAA, and again, I know he's on a sure thing to contribute, but like you have the potential of your rotation by mid-year next year to be Skeens, Jones, Keller, Chandler, Harrington, and then XY. How many more options after that, right?
Dude, if you could literally like form your balls into a hand, I would put you in over Marco Gonzalez. So I feel like I'm fully cool with him, Chandler, coming in and being our Huckleberry. I'm
Right.
fully. Let me ask you a real quick question, then we'll do like the plugs and we'll get out of here and we can talk about what we're going to do next week.
Right.
Real quick. So to Ken's point here, if that's the case, if that's the outcome, do you just suck for luck at this point? Or now, because there can be potential other fallouts from that by completely just collapsing. But with the thought that if you are under this threshold, he's absolutely gone. Do you go that route, or do you roll the dice and? Unfortunately, I think that stuff changes. What are you saying here?
Right.
Dude, oh my God. Stop saying that because it excites me and gives me a little mini boner.
Ken, Rich, I think Rich might be really Skeens time. So I'm gonna end here shortly.
Yeah.
Ken, Rich is a big time fan of Oviedo. So
oh my God. I love it.
My main point is I don't think so, because I think that they 100% think this team has it. I think they thought they had it this year to a degree. Or
they probably did for a while.
I don't see them the sucking, because I think that next year, kind of going back to my point and kind of wrapping these two things together.
Yeah.
With the rotation they have, add an Oviedo to that, right? The bullpen's a question. You can add, you can trade, you can sign guys. I truly believe that they think, and I agree with them, that you had a couple bats to this team next year, you could make a real run to the division. You could have a hell of a year with that pitching, right? So for me, does everything suck right now? It sure does. Yet another collapse, right?
Yep.
At the same time, it's kind of hard to be too down on this franchise right now because of the talent they coming up for the pipeline pitching. If they do actually grow some balls for once and make some moves in the offseason that are more than just the bare minimum, this team could be a legitimate division contender, playoff contender next year. And that's where
For a few years. That's the thing. For a few years. Like that's the important thing. So
uncharted waters. They just might get rid of a Shelton if they think that team cannot get there next year with him. So that's where I kind of see the other side as well of total collapse. They think this team has talent. They think they're going to have it next year. He might not be the guy. So that's where I'm at. I think there's plenty of hope, but I could definitely see Shelton not being a part of it if this continues.
Fair enough. All right. Well, before we get out of here, a few things. So we are going to start working on a Patreon thing where it's a Q&A. Q&A session about anything. Just ask us anything, basically. Think of that Reddit thing. I'm going to put a link in to vote for my puppy to be in this calendar. And also the donations go to Pugfest and they go to no-kill shelters. So I'll put the link up there too. They've raised about $1,200 so far. So it's actually a good thing. What are we talking about on Monday here, bub? Give him a little teaser here because I know we had a lot of things we didn't cover.
Thank you, Vic. Just said.
Hey, thanks, Vic. Appreciate you, man.
As you two guys really run a fun show and you tell it like it is. Let's watch some baseball. Hell yeah, Vic. I appreciate you participating tonight, and you're a great dude.
Sincerely, it's awesome.
Feedback too. Ken, thank you as well.
Yes.
Monday is going to be TBD, but a lot of it's going to be. I'd really like to focus on what the rest of the series looks like. Hell, they might doesn't win the next two, right?
Did we cover all of our stuff already?
No, I do want to talk about some. I want to talk about Brian De La Cruz. He's a hot topic
yeah.
right now. IKF. I want to talk about Nick York. I want to talk about some Billy Cook. So still a lot to talk about on Monday, guys. 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
same time. But real quick, I want to add on to what you said, Rich. We're going to start doing some giveaways as well, some autographed memorabilia, jerseys. So stay tuned. That'll be posted on Twitter. We'll kind of go from there. But there will be some giveaways as well, some fun stuff. But I will leave with this one quick thing. Rich, predictions rest of the series.
Who's pitching tomorrow?
It's Bailey. So tonight's Skeens.
Yeah, I know
don't
that.
who he's facing.
And then
Tomorrow's
Ryan.
Fulcher versus Glass now.
Okay, so we're gonna lose both games. It's gonna be thrilling.
I think that they win tonight because Skeens is going to shove, and I think they're actually going to hit. They've been hitting. I think they're going to hit, and Skeens is going to pitch well. I think
No, we can't do both things. We don't do that here.
Rowdy. You are bald like Rowdy, so I'll give you that.
That's fair.
It's in the show name, so I can't get in trouble for making fun of you. I think they win tonight. I think that Falter gets torched tomorrow. I just think the lineup's too good. I love Falter this year, but I think they win tonight, lose tomorrow, and
if anything, they probably have a better chance of winning tomorrow because the lefty matchup. Is Mookie hurt, by the way?
Who?
Mookie.
Oh yeah, he's out, and they said he's injured, and he's coming back as a right fielder, I believe, when he comes back. So they're winning like this without Mookie too, but that's what happens when you spend $1 billion.
That's super fair. All right, boys, let's go watch Skeens make us feel better.
All right.
See y'all Monday. I'm recording tomorrow with Jermaine for the flagship X's and O's, so show up for that if you want. If not, whatever, it's fine too. I'll just beg you. All right, toodaloo.
All right. Thanks, Rich.